The comfort level's dropping. So look, I mean, probably the first question to give a bit of value to people which might be looking at, hey, I love the media, I'm really interested in the media, like how do I get involved? What do I do? Where do I go? Who do I see? What do I do? So if there were like maybe 3 tips that you could give to people that were really interested in pursuing a career like yourself, what kind of tips would you give them?
Okay, I think the first one has got to be passion. Like if you love what you do, because I'm a big believer in only doing things that I love. I've tried doing things and I hated it and it just didn't feel good waking up in the morning doing it. And so I quit every time. So after that, I promised myself I will only gonna do things that I love most. And one of them is media. Why I love being in media, it's because we are the source of information, so we can sort out informations. I know not every media is giving out the best informations, especially these days, and that's also why I think later on we're going to talk about this, right? I have my own media now. But first of all, the passion. Second is patience, because trying to develop a career in the media industry is not easy, and it's not a short-term thing. You kind of have to build it from the ground up, right? Well, I think most of the things that we do in life, you have to kind of start small and then grow bigger. But you have to have you need to be patient, because, I mean, if you're not patient, then nothing is gonna grow. So that's the second one. And the third one is having a positive mindset, because whether we like it or not, if we always think that we're gonna fail or we're not gonna be able to do things, then we're not gonna be able to do things, right? So you have to have the mindset of a winner, that you can always win, that you can always do all the tasks that you were given, and then you're gonna do great, and then you are the asset of the media that you're working for.
It reminds me, there were a couple of friends of mine, very young, right? UK, so I think at 16, you're getting these options of like, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? And I go, I don't know. It's like, well, you need to decide right now, because the rest of your life hinges on this moment, right? And you decide to study A-levels, higher education, or run away from school as fast as you can, which I did, and then came back again. It's so good to learn. So like, I remember though, that there were a few friends of mine, even younger than that just knew what they wanted to do, who they wanted to be, and the life they wanted to live. Right? I mean, one lady, I remember she said, I came out of the womb dancing and singing, so it was obvious to me that I was going to be a performing artist, that I was going to have that kind of life, right? Yeah. So for you, being, again, acting, print media, television, radio, like, when did you know that this is going to be your thing?
Again, since I was born, like your friend.
Another one! Oh.
It's like, I remember my dad was telling me when I was around 5, 6 or something, he would find me like behind a podium and just talk there to like nobody. Like nobody was there in the room, and I was just there in a podium and start speaking and talking and telling stories. And then he's like, what do you want to be? And I was like, I don't know, but what kind of job that would require me to talk? And then he said, maybe journalist. I was like, well, then I'm going to go for that.
Wow. It's amazing it's incredible how some people just find their way. And then, so this journalism, right? So, like, we're going to chop backwards and forwards, how this works. So, like, the people watching will think, okay, so I've got some of these qualities, right? You've mentioned before patience. You've mentioned before passion. Both begin with P. Maybe I should have said, what are the 5 Ps? Anyway, so what other qualities would you say are essential for anybody looking into this sort of industry that you need to possess to have a chance to be successful?
Oh, good question. I think the quality is, yourself. You have to believe in yourself, right? You have to have the quality of a great journalist. But then how do you develop that even before you are a journalist? By believing first that you can be that, right? Mm. So that's what I was always thinking about myself before even, going into castings and stuff like that. I always have it first in my head that I'm doing that job, that I'm already doing it, know how to do it really well, and then I was just gonna go to, the casting or whatever, and start doing it the way I kind of had it in my head before. Kind of like visualizing it first, so the quality would be like ourselves. We have to know that we are that good. But, I mean, we have to believe in us first before anybody else will.
So this belief in oneself, this confidence that people talk about a lot, right? I mean, I think maybe it was Joe Rogan, I don't remember, somebody else was saying that, Ed Milet, that's who it was. He was saying that, like self-confidence is self-esteem. Essentially, from self-esteem, you arrive at self-confidence. So, and how you do that is to keep the promises that you make to yourself. Right? So if you say that I'm going to do X, Y, and Z tomorrow, then you do it. That's keeping a commitment to yourself, and then over time, that builds up your self-confidence. So then if I would ask you, it's a double-edged question, because that's how we roll, right? Double-edged question. Number one, like, how did you cultivate, right, that self-belief? And then when or how did you respond when you were looking at failure right up close?
Okay, remind me the second question. Let me just answer the first question first. Cultivating it, I would say I didn't even know I was cultivating it before. When I was a kid, I remember I always loved to imagine things. So when I was like, before I'd take a nap or something, I would just kind of imagine how my life would be like later on in life, ideally, according to me, according to what I love. So I've always kind of had that vision in my head since I was a kid that, okay, I want to be on stage, I want to be doing things like this, things like that. I didn't even know journalism existed since I was still a kid, or acting or whatever else. But that first. And then I came to realize when I was kind of a little bit older, when the dream kind of started to manifest. And then I realized that, oh, wait, I used to kind of dreamed about this 20 years ago or something. So I didn't really realize that is actually how I cultivated, because I didn't have any resistance on like, what if I am not becoming that kind of person, right? I was just imagining it for fun in my head because I'm having fun thinking about it. It was just that, basically. And when I realized that it can actually come true, now I was like, oh, then now I can do it deliberately, right? So I start doing it consciously. Yeah. And I was like, when I read stuff like people say, okay, you need to visualize your dreams and blah, blah, I was like, wait, I've been doing it since I was a child. I just didn't know that. Yeah. I was doing that. Yeah. So when I realized that I can do it deliberately, I think that's when I kind of find the power.
So then the second part of it was about failure.
Yeah.
So a lot of people here, probably all of us, right, have experienced failure of some description in our lives. And it's almost about, some believe that failure is part of success. Others believe, I think I posted today a quote from Earl Nightingale, who's amazing, right? And Earl Nightingale was all about, success is like the pursuit of a worthy ideal, basically. So in other words, like if you have a worthy ideal in your mind and you're always pushing for it, you're always reaching for it, you're always moving toward it, then you are successful by definition. If you ever give up, like completely give up, then failure comes into it. So that's maybe one description to keep in your mind. But yeah, so then when failure has stared you in the face, like what went on for you internally, and then how did you find a way through it if you did?
Oh, okay. I did not end up here today doing what I love without failing, right? I failed a lot, and I think in time, it gets better for me to kind of accept failure as a, what do you call that? Like rerouting me into other things that's better.
Like a course correct.
Yes, but years ago, let's say 10 or 15 years ago, no, I hated it. And it did play a little bit role of that self-confidence thing. I used to then doubt myself. Like I had the confidence before, but like I told you, I didn't know I was kind of cultivating it. So it was kind of easy for me to get distracted by failure and all that to kind of start doubting myself because I wasn't doing it deliberately. So I think the first years I hated it, and I kind of, what do you call that? I doubt myself, and I start thinking that maybe other people were better than me. Yeah. So I had that moment, and then I kind of have to, like, you know, go back to myself and be like, I always believe, no matter how many people are playing the same role as you in the world, there's always a place for you. So there's always a place for me, right? Doing what I love. Doesn't matter if there's only like 10 channels, let's say, in Indonesia, there's one for me and one for other people too. So because I start believing in that, I guess I kind of found my place again in there, and then I just start kind of learning. Because every time I look back after those failures, I always ended up where I wanted. Still ended up where I wanted to be. So, and then I was like, then why worry? Because every time I worried and then I let it go, like after a few months of like beating myself up, and then I realized, you know what, let's just move on. When I moved on, there's something better, or same thing actually, you know, the same opportunities come back to me, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess, you know, if I'm gonna end up to where I'm supposed to be, then I shouldn't worry that much before. So I kind of learned from there to just, you know, accept things as it is, learn from it, like what did I do wrong before that made me fail, and then just, you know, do it again.
So then, and we're going to get onto Indonesia and media very soon. By the way, those people here, you will have an opportunity to ask questions too. But the thing that jumped in was, like, for people watching, we've all dealt with that, right? You're in a situation where you've realized that, hey, this is what I've always loved to do. And, you know, you were visualizing from a very young age without even realizing that's what you were doing, right? And you know, your dad obviously set you on the course, whether you realize that or not, he did, right? Journalism, you should be a journalist, right? Okay, I'll do that, and you did it, right? So you go through all of these steps. And, you know, so how did that, like, evolve into your career? Right? So what was that, maybe that moment or moments, maybe call upon one of them, that was really a defining influence of like, you know what, now I'm really sure that this is the path?
Okay, I think when I landed my first job, it was at MTV Radio. So in Indonesia, back in 2001, I think, they opened MTV Indonesia, the TV, and then they franchised it to radio. I only just graduated high school, and every year I tried to apply. So only the third year they actually called. The first year I tried, no phone calls whatsoever from them. Second year as well. And then third year I was in second year of university. One of my friends heard the announcement that they're opening up another opportunity for radio announcers, broadcasters. And then he told me, I think you need to apply. And I was like, yeah, I already applied like twice already. They never called. And then he's like, well, this time I have a friend in the radio, so we can just like deliver the CD to her and let her bring it to the boss. I was like, okay then, and let's try. But this time without expectation, like, because the first and second I already got rejected. And so we did it, and then when I gave it, turns out it was not the last day. The day before I gave it was the last day. So I was like, oh, damn it, here we go again, right? But no, I got a call.
Self-sabotage.
Nope, I got a call.
I love it, you got a call.
A week later, they call me up, and they're like, hey, we listened to the demos and everything, and can we do like another interview with you? So, okay, so I came, and turns out it was such a long process. It took me about a month. I think they called me back 3 times and another auditions, and then you have to do crazy things, like you have to rap like on top of a table while playing guitar, things like that. Just MTV crazy, right? they kind of want to know how crazy you would want to do things for them.
How far can you go?
I did it anyway. I was like, okay, you want me full on, I'll do it, whatever. So I went on top of the table, rap with guitar and what I didn't even know what I was doing, but I guess they liked it. And so we had to do another 3 months of pretty much learning how to use the studio equipments and everything and mixing and all that. And after 3 months, from like 20 of us, I think, only 7 managed to have their shows. I was one of them. And when that happened, it was February the 1st, 2003. I was like, okay, I love this. I'm gonna just keep doing this. I already know, like, this is it. I knew it.
And like, did you ever feel, I'm looking at Carol now, and I'm thinking about Marina as well, right? So being a woman here in Indonesia, the media, people might ask you, how tough is it being a woman to break into the media? Like, have you ever found it to be a challenge? If so, how did you overcome it? Maybe there are other women watching this now and say, hey, I love Cheryl, I love what she's done, I want to get into the media, but what are the challenges? Are there challenges, and what should I maybe prepare myself for before I start to take that path?
Well, there's so many women working in media in Indonesia that I know. Like, most of my bosses were female. When I first started on MTV, it was female. And then I went to JAK FM, female. CNN, female. So I don't think, it was never really registered in my head that it would be hard for women to work in media per se, but then the challenges itself are plenty, right? Especially like the politics at the office, or when you are sent to do stories in like the craziest place ever, like the bombing site or terrorism area, things like that, you have to be brave, right? And you cannot back down. Like, it is the story that you kind of have to cover. So you just have to just go, just do it.
Now I'm thinking about my wife, Marina. So, and I hope she doesn't mind me saying this, which means that later on I might get something. We'll see. You can't see the bruises, right? It's okay. It's okay. I tried it. No, it's coming out wrong. So Marina is incredibly sharp, right? Very intelligent, obviously beautiful, but very smart and sharp, right?
Love her.
And very perceptive, right? And creative. So with her, what she's always kind of loved, which I think only recently she put like a name on, is journalism or becoming like a detective, because she has that mind to be able to really figure out the lie of the land and who's telling the truth and like which evidence leads to what and da-da-da-da-da. So for a second, you mentioned before about journalism, about getting the story, about getting in, not accepting no for an answer. So then for people like Marina, who I think would be an amazing journalist, like what would be the qualities, again, of being a great journalist? Like what are the non-negotiable things that you have to have in spades, right? What would they be?
Balls of steel.
Oh, she's got that.
Seriously. I had to cover stories like when I went to Aceh and I had to cover stories about the Sharia police, the women Sharia police. Wow. And then we had to just go there, and then I was wearing like cargo pants already, like long sleeves, button shirts, already wearing the scarf and everything, but they still rejected me, right, at that time. And you can get prison time if you do not follow those rules. Yeah. I think stuff like that, like going into a situation that is so out of my comfort zone, would be something that you have to have courage to do, right? It's not comfortable. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't want them to throw me to jail or something as well, because they have their own rules. That's like a what do you call it? Daerah istimewa again? Like in English? Like a special zone with their own like rules again. So I think going to stuff like that or covering palm tree plantations where, you know, after we covered it and they figured out that we're gonna air it, they didn't want to let us air it, and then we kind of have to like redo the whole story because they're like, no, you're gonna bring the whole thing down if you air it, and you know, stuff like that. So you just have to have that bravery inside of you. Like, you really want to do this, then you kind of have to do it again. But follow your heart. What kind of stories do you actually like doing?
You know, the word that I heard that's like tapping on the shoulder is courage, right? So I see lots of courage in you as well. But where does it come from, right? If I ask you, because again, going into these situations, Aceh, then the palm oil plantations, like, as you mentioned, it takes courage, right? So obviously you're being paid to do a job, but that's being paid to do a job, right? You spoke before about passion, but where does that courage come from? Because you were in some pretty hairy situations. So what was it? Where is it? What generates that courage for you?
Yeah, I think it's the love of what I do again, because I love doing it. I just didn't think too much about it. You know, the challenges are like, okay, it's just one of the challenges. It's okay, it's gonna be fine. And I always believe that nothing bad is going to happen to me or my team that are going together with me. We're always going to be safe, and so we are always safe. Yeah.
Love it, Cheryl. So then we've come through that, right? So we've gone through the MTV, and we're working our way forward. So then, so what came after all of that? I mean, you mentioned a bit of radio as well, and then it came into the print. So give us a little segue. How did that all come about?
Okay, so I first started with MTV the radio. It was 2003.
Yeah.
I did it until 2015. I changed radio just twice. But at the same time the radio started, the MTV TV casted me as well. So they were casting all the radio announcers from MTV Radio, and I was one of them who got the TV show as well at that time. It was 2007. And then from there, lots of offers actually came in after MTV. It's more the lifestyle programs, entertainment, music, movies, and stuff like that. And I always have it in the back of my head, because I remember when I was in high school, again, I've said things that actually happen like in the future, which is funny. I remember I was talking to my first boyfriend ever. I was 15. He asked me what I wanted to be, and I said, oh, I'm gonna be a CNN anchor. There was no CNN in Indonesia. No CNN in Indonesia. CNN only, I think, existed in 2016. So I said that, but then I've always wanted to be a news anchor, but then I just thought, you know what, let's just have fun with it. Because I applied when I was 25. I applied to one of the news station, and then they said, you look too young for this. So why don't you just do the music shows? Why don't you just do the sports shows? And I was like, yeah, well, okay, I like it anyway, so I'll just do it. And they was like, what age do you think I should come back? And they're like, maybe when you're 30. I was like, okay, I'll come back 5 years from now. And I did, because CNN was part of Transcorp, which was the first TV station that I applied. And I wasn't even applying, because I came back from New York. I thought I was gonna leave this whole media thing behind in 2015. I was like, I've had enough of life. I was so depressed at that time, and I was like, I'm just gonna leave everything behind. I'm gonna leave to New York, and I'm gonna see what happened there. I came back, and suddenly CNN calls, like, I heard you're back in town. Do you mind coming to our studio? Because we opened CNN Indonesia. That's how it happened.
Far out. So look, you know me, Cheryl. I don't miss anything, right? This juicy.
Juicy.
Oh, juicy.
Yes.
Now depression.
Oh, there you
go. So you just said it. So I heard it. So it comes through, not from. Through, not from. So like you were there, right? You're doing your dream thing, right? You're in your zone of power. So then when you mentioned depression, it wasn't the word that I was thinking would come out that would pair together. So tell us a little bit about that. What do you think caused it? and how were you to find a way through it if you were?
So I think it started when I told you, when I created everything in my head the first time, I did not realize that I was actually the one creating it. Yeah. So I lost focus, right? I had almost everything that I wanted at that time. I think it was before 2015, because after 2015 it's a different story. But before 2015, I've had everything, and I remember I was in my apartment in Jakarta having panic attacks, like serious panic attack that I had to call my mom. I was like, am I dying? I don't think I can breathe. Like, seriously, it was that bad? Because I was just shaking, and I didn't realize what that was. I didn't even know what it was. But my mom is a doctor, so she kind of gave me a prescription, but then she told me that you need to figure it out because everything is in your head and in your heart. Yeah. And I didn't realize what it was until, so I left. So I thought, you know what, I had everything, but I was not happy, so I'm just gonna leave everything, and then I'm gonna kind of soul searching. And I ended up in New York. That's hilarious because in New York, right?
Get depressed.
How did you find yourself in New York?
You realize, get depressed, go to New York. It's the cure for you.
I know. Everyone comes to Bali for that, and I actually left for New York.
Everyone comes to Bali, it's like, I'm going to find myself. Like, hell, I'm going to New York. Yeah, it's there where I need to find myself. New York City. It's not Bali.
That's so crazy. It's because I resigned from my work, and then my boss was like, what are you going to do? I don't know. I'm going to go overseas. Where? I don't know. Okay, what if I send you to New York and be our stringer, but then you can do whatever you want? We'll give you the visa. I was like, well, for how long? A year. Okay, fine, I'll go. And so when I ended in New York, I started getting acting lessons. Yeah. And so it turns out my acting coach, she's a certified life coach, I think, or therapist, something like that. Yeah. So I started having one-on-one sessions with her, and that's when I realized that I was focusing on the lack instead of all the blessings in life. Wow. I was just always kind of looking at the things that I don't have yet. Wow. And then that kind of became like something that's tangled up in my head, you know? I was like, I don't have this, I don't have that. Where am I gonna get this? When is it gonna happen? When is it gonna happen? While I have everything I could have been grateful for, but I was not. So it was just, yeah. And when I realized that, I was like, oh, wow, changing the focus is kind of the something that's healing. But it wasn't easy. I wish it was just as that simple, right? But trying to implement it in my life, I kind of have to, you know, go through a lot again to be able to finally control my head, like, really.
You know, we had, so next week we have, it's Health Hub Bali, the future of health talks. Now, last month we had a guy, Professor Gelgel Wirasuta. Professor Gelgel Wirasuta. He is the advisor to the governor of Bali for traditional Balinese medicine and traditional Balinese wellness, right? And he majored in toxicology or something. So very science-trained, incredible guy, right? Really cool. But it's interesting because when we're talking about health and the body and what happens and da-da-da-da-da, he came up with something that makes perfect sense, but I wasn't expecting him to say that. I was expecting him to say something about Bali, the energy, the fact that the frequency of Bali calms your nervous system, which allows your homeostatic mechanism, like your thermostat of your body, to take control. So when you cut yourself, it heals, right? Yeah. Okay, this is what I was expecting in my head. But what he said was, which makes sense, was, that's all relevant, but the most important thing is your thinking. Yeah. It's your thoughts that create disease in your body. That's the way around, because mental, emotional, spiritual, right? And so it's your thoughts. So regardless of the situation that you find yourself in, and now this is going back to like the neuroplasticity of the brain, the work of people like Joe Dispenza, which are doing incredible things in the space. But it's amazing because, again, what you were saying before leads right back to that, right? Yeah. It's about your thinking and how you were processing your thoughts and where your focus and attention was going, right?
Totally. When I realized that, oh, she's right. I did not pay attention to all the things that are actually working in my life, and I'm just focusing on what I do not have. And when am I gonna get that? Of course it's gonna drive me crazy because I don't know when. Nobody knows when things are gonna happen to you, right? You just have to trust and you have to like believe that it's gonna happen, which I've done that before. I just didn't realize it because it was not deliberate. But now that I realize that, oh, so that's how I can do it. So now I always try to control my thoughts. I need to be always aware of what I'm thinking, right? If I start feeling like I'm gonna spiral down again into like anxiety or whatever, I start taking notes on what actually am I thinking and why am I thinking this way. So kind of have a conversations with myself, like going back home, going within, and just knowing that, oh, actually, if I think, let's just say, I'm thinking about what's gonna happen next month if the magazine I'm working for closed down, let's say. And then I'm worrying about that, right? And then I would just write it down. So what is actually the fear? The fear is not having a job, meaning not having money, meaning I cannot do this, meaning I cannot do that. And then, but is it happening now? No. Are you sure it's gonna happen next month? No. So what is it? It's just an illusion that I'm creating in my head. It's not real, it's not true. I don't have to focus on that. Go back to focusing on the things that I do want. So I always now steer my thoughts, thinking to the things that I do want instead of what I do not want. Because I realize every time, this is also happening with people, right? When I think that that person don't like me, they don't like me. When I think that they like me, they like me. And then I realize, oh crap, it's all in my head. I created that too. So now I'm just like, well, everybody likes me, cool. All right, now I'm good. You know, and everybody likes me. So I was like, okay, that's the secret, kind of.
Love it. Now, look, in about 5 or 10 minutes, we've got some questions. We've got a third mic that will come around, about 5 or 10 minutes. But a few closing questions for this part of it is, thank you so much, firstly, for being so open and generous. And so for those of you watching know already, but for those of you who don't, I'm going to tell you, none of this is rehearsed, right? So we just sit down and we have a chat and we see where it goes.
Yeah.
But it always goes somewhere good because the belief going in after this many episodes is that people inspire people. And unity and diversity are the two pillars that underpin everything that we do. So the way it is that always finds its way out, which is interesting. Yeah. So thank you. Two questions. So what do you love about being managing editor of Tatler Indonesia? That's the first one.
I love it because it gives me another opportunity networking to different types of people. Like it opens up like another connection on the next level, right? The high society and everything. And I can learn a lot from them too because they're the people who owns businesses in Indonesia. They're like the Forbes people. Yeah. And I think, if that was what I'm aiming for myself, then I have to be surrounded with that kind of people. So this place opens up that network and connection for me. So I am very much appreciative of that. That's what I love. And also I love writing, so yeah.
Love it. Two more questions.
Yeah.
So one is, which I'll do last. It just keeps coming through. You know what it's like.
I know.
All right. So your own business. So I know you're on fire. So tell us about your new business and what does it do? Why does it exist? And why do you love doing it?
Well, the business is media. No surprises there because I love it. But what I'm trying to do is that I created a media that focuses on good news and inspiring stories.
Boom! Boom! That's a round of applause right there.
So that's
Boom!
what we're doing. And I started it...
Come on! Sorry.
I started it in 2020, right after the pandemic happened, because when is the best time? It was there. You know, when everything, like in the news, you see dailies, like a death rates and everything. I was like, you know what? I've had enough of this. Why don't we create? So I have a few media friends with me who are on the same vision, and yeah, we just kind of pretty much do our own thing. We write, depending on what topics we love, but then the red line is it has to be inspiring and it has to be a good news.
Now, I've had a few goose pimples on this time, and then I get the that comes through, not from. Yes!
No wonder I love this podcast, you know?
Exciting. So what's it called? How do people interact with it?
Oh yeah, it's called Good Shot ID. So you just go to the website, it's goodshot.id, and Instagram for now.
Great. So goodshot.id.
Yeah.
And the last question for me before we get to, I think, yeah, you had a question, I can tell. Denise had a question. Like, knowing the media as you do, and obviously we could talk for hours on this, but knowing the media as you do here in Indonesia, like, what kind of future would you love to see for the media here in Indonesia?
Oh, I think I would love to see more good news media, because, I mean, come on, there are plenty already that are focusing on you know, like the terrible things that are happening in the world. Why I started Good Shot, because I was watching so many, I think in the US and in the UK, they already have a few platforms that are actually talking about good news and all that. I just thought that Indonesia doesn't have that yet. That's why I have to start it. And I generally, in the website, on our website, we write it in Indo, but then you can translate it into English automatically. But that's what I wanted more. I want people to, you know, again, direct their thoughts into something that's positive and inspiring and makes you feel better, instead of, like, you know, stressing yourself out.
Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so Brother Guzman, if you have the third mic, and then we'll hand it to Denise first, and then I'm sure Colleen after that, and then Carol after that. God damn, I have to go to the toilet. It could be forever. And yeah, I was serious about the toilet, by the way. But I'm gonna, you know, what is it? Live television. Always the call of nature before you start the show. There you go. There's a tip. Damn it, should have followed it. All right. So just to give you a quick heads up. So those of you asking questions now, there's a camera, so you will be on camera. But I know you guys don't mind that. After this, we'll close it, and then you can ask questions that may be a little bit more private. If you don't want to be seen on camera, we can do that then as well. All right, so that cool. Is making its way to Denise.
Microphone is making its way.
The microphone is making its way. All right, so Denise, you're on, darling.
So this is sort of two-part. First of all, thank you so much for your stories. I couldn't stop smiling, because just like so much of what you've been saying. Ended up getting the job that you wanted because you weren't attached to it. There was no expectation, right?
Yeah.
So my question is, because I can imagine how many challenges you had to overcome to get to all the places that you ended up getting and making the impact that you have. What was it in you, whether it was outside heroes or some sort of a belief in yourself? What made you believe in yourself strong enough that you were able to overcome those challenges and keep going? Because as we know, media and entertainment are some of the most challenging, voraciously difficult industries to break into, and to keep going even when you are, you know, when you do have a job in it. So what was it that kept you what fueled your batteries?
I think it's the love of what I do. It's always been the thing that keeps me going, right? Because I couldn't think of anything else that I wanted to do but this. So when it's when it's right in front of me and I'm doing it, I'm always gonna make the most of it. So I always try to do my best and have fun in the process. I guess it's what it is. But also, maybe the past, from 2015, I also start learning about that whole manifestation things, which I didn't know before. I guess I started kind of small, kind of started again thinking of like small things that I want, and when it actually happened, it gives me more confidence and like, oh, see, I knew it, I thought of it, it happened, so you can do it again now, bigger things. You know, like I started with that, and then confidence built over time, right? So after many times I've done it, I guess that's how but to this day, sometimes I still doubt myself, you know, once in a while. It's like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. And I was like, stop it. Don't do that. Don't do that.
This.
You got this. You can do it.
That's so awesome. Thank you so much, because that attitude is so infectious, and I hope like more and more people get inspired by it, because it's just so cool to see someone who believes in themselves so much and who notices these little patterns of the universe and keeps going. And you're making such a huge impact on so many lives because you're a storyteller, right?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You know, so while you're about to hand that to Colleen, so Denise Reno, right? So DenizReno.com. There you go. I mean, I know. It was like how to give someone a plug. Be sure of their website address before you say it. I'm like, Denise Reno.
That's how you spell it, baby.
There you go, baby. .com. There you go. Plug. Love her, so it's all good. Colleen.
Hi, thank you so much for sharing so much of your personal journey and your passion and what really got you through to become the woman that you've become. And what I hear in the background is you've also become this very high-level businesswoman. And I am running a business called Fab. You had. Yeah. And I am a stan that everybody understands the power of their own story and how to get on stage and actually deliver that well told so that they can share their wisdom. One of the things that I really want is I want this to get out because I want to really have a global impact. Yeah. And I know that one of the best ways of doing that is through press.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. So considering my business evolution, I'm about 2 years in. I've trained hundreds of people so far to get on the stage, which includes Balinese. So I do scholarships for every time I do one. I have 2 scholarships for Balinese. What do you feel is a good time to start engaging press, something like Tatler or your other project that you're beautifully growing as well? When do you think that would be a good time to start talking to people like you?
Now.
Yeah?
I mean, yes, because you already, it's been 2 years, 3 years, right?
2 years, yeah.
2 years? I think that's good, especially if you already build a report, right? You've got the report, then I think, why don't we start with Bali medias? Because we have like around 20, 30 medias in Bali, based in Bali. They're amazing, and they also have their own impact because they have their own like niche market in Bali and also nationally. Some of them actually published nationally as well. I think you can start with that and really just, I think over the maybe twice a year or something, you create like a media gathering, telling them like what you're doing and giving out informations about your brands, and then this is the impact, because media, not just media, but people nowadays, they don't want to just buy products anymore, right? They want to buy story behind it. They want to know if they spend, they also help others. So I think what you're doing is that. So, you know, do it now. Like, yeah, invite the medias. I have like the numbers of the people, so.
Oh, that's totally beautiful. And I love that idea of gathering them together and sharing with them as community. So beautiful.
Because that's what, since I was here, that's what most of the business owners are actually doing. They invite media, they're telling them what they're doing, treat them or make them experience what it is that the business is actually doing, and that's how you kind of grow together.
Thank you so much for that advice. Thank
You're
you, sweetheart.
welcome.
Now, Sister Carol, and look, come on, if I did it for Denise, you see when you start something, come on, Fab.
So fabx.tv. So if you go to fabx.tv, you will find all the information on how to sign up and to get onto the stage in order to share your story.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
I'll check
All right.
that out.
There you go. Sister Carol, over to you.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Thank you very much. It was very, all the information that you shared was so fascinating. And I definitely love your enthusiasm. It's indeed very, very contagious. Robert, you were talking about doing detective work, you know, when you are the media. I love to be a detective of the heart and to dig into emotions. I would love to know what is the story that you covered that touched you the most and for what reasons.
Okay, that's deep.
More goose pimples.
Yeah, but I do. Actually, when I was with Channel NewsAsia, I used to do this 4 docuseries with Channel NewsAsia Singapore, and they were actually covering, so the title is Deciphering Indonesia with Cheryl Marella. And when I accepted the offer, I didn't realize it would be part of my healing, you know, because I have to tell you the truth. Indonesian people, please don't be angry. But I used to hate my own country with passion. Again, because my focus was on the things that are not working in here, and being like kind of like the minority in Indonesia. My family, I grew up Christian and all that. There's just plenty of bullshit that happened back then, like when I was, you know, from my childhood, everything. So I used to hate this country. That's why I also ran away to the US, because I just didn't want to be here. I hate everything. I hate everyone. I just, bleh. Literally, I was like, oh, get me out of here as soon as possible. And then it brought me back, right? Because my coach was telling me, you have to go back home and tighten up the loose ends, because that's what you need to do. Otherwise, you will never gonna heal. So when I came back, I got, after CNN, I got the offer to do Deciphering Indonesia. And that's when I had to go to Aceh. And then I had to pretty much talk to those people who are very different. We have a totally different perception in life, values, everything. That's one. Because also, the things that triggered me the most back then was religion. Because in Indonesia, religion is pretty much, I talked about it with your wife the other night. Yeah. It's just something that is very sensitive, and it's just yeah. Anyway, so I had to cover stories. I had to be among those people and just see them as human, because I had to be neutral, right? As a journalist, I cannot kind of, you know, have my own opinion in a way. And then I had to interview one of the Indonesia's, his name is really big, but he used to kind of, he was in Syria or something, like learning, you know, like radical Muslim, and then he's one of the biggest person like in Indo, and I had to interview him. Can you imagine like interviewing him? If I didn't meet my life coach, I probably killed the person like there, because I already hated the idea. But then when I had to be there and just kind of just be present and see him not from a point of view of you're different than me, like the way you think or whatever, and just be there and just be compassionate, you know, like you must have gone through a lot of things in life. That's why you ended up there in that position. So am I. So there I could just like, you know what, it's okay. I'm fine with this. And it kind of healed that, you know, it healed the triggers. Like I've met the leader of the radical in Indo, and then I was like, and I'm fine. It heals, definitely. I'm not triggered anymore. Like, you can do whatever you want now, and it's okay.
I'm done, we're good.
Yeah, I'm done, we're good. I think that's the story that touched me the most. I had to go through different parts of Indonesia, always different stories, and always meeting up different people. And just knowing that, I live in Bali is a privilege. This place is very different. This place is very healing for me as well, and it accepted me so much that I'm grateful there is Bali in Indonesia. Otherwise, I might have chosen another country again. I don't know. Just joking.
Great question, Carol. See, as tourism architect, right? That's what my brand is. What I do. But what's behind it is about how do we bring the people of Indonesia together with foreigners like me, guests. Even though my wife is Indonesian, our kids are Indonesian passport holders, Australian passport holders, and eventually British passport holders when we get there. But yeah, the idea is how can we bring people of Indonesia together with foreigners to work on projects that inspire, unite, and uplift humanity, right? So that's really what it's all about. In 12 different industries, Harold's here from All Solar World, which are doing some incredible things with uniting remote communities, of which there are 50 million in Indonesia, through to internet, right, and power, electricity, and payment gateway. Very powerful project. But if I asked you the question in the filter of what kind of future would you like to see, what do you think Indonesia could do in order to embrace, because unity and diversity is the motto of the country, which I love, right? But what do you think, if there's anything that Indonesia could do further to become more united in that particular way?
I think it's to coexist without judging so much. Because that's what is happening right now, right? You're being divided because of religion, of race, color of your skin, whatever. But why don't you just coexist and embrace that differences are actually beautiful? And you can try and understand the other person sitting in front of you, why they chose why they chose all the decisions in their lives, let's say. Why is that person became a radical Muslim leader? I want to know, what happened in your childhood? What happened before? Blah, blah, blah. And why do you think that this is the best thing for you to do? And that's his truth. And I have to kind of, be okay with it. That's his truth. I have my own truth. He has his own truth, right? And it's okay. We can all just coexist without having to always judging, and then wanting the other person to be the same as you. That's boring. Stop. Yeah, that's what I wish. That's what I wish is happening here. Hopefully in the future. Fingers crossed.
All right. Wow. So look, I know there's other questions, but what we'll do is that we'll close this part of the show pretty soon. Any other questions, feel free to ask. The cameras won't be on for those of you who are wondering. So look, in about a minute or two's time, Cheryl, what I'll ask you to close the show is there anything else that you'd like to cover? Might be reiterating something that you've said already. It might be something completely new that's just come through from who knows where, right? Feel free to kind of say it, and then we'll close the show after in about a minute or so. So for those of you watching here, remember we're here every Monday at Tropical Nomad. This is episode 299. So now we're into the 300s. We've got Clubhouse version tomorrow, Incubator for Leaders. If you want to know more, just check the SpeakuP Monday on Instagram or Facebook, and that will tell you all the details. Next week is our Future of Health monthly panel. And that is curated and hosted by Health Hub Bali, by Tracy. That will be amazing. And there's a guy coming up called Marlo Benham. I'm sure his surname I got wrong. Sorry, Marlo. Is one of the most incredible people which I've met here. And he is the keeper of archives on Indonesia. Whoa. So this guy is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Lord knows how I met him. I know Meggie, thank you if you're watching from tomorrow. Thank you so much, Meggie. Marlo is amazing. His knowledge about Indonesia goes deeper than anyone I've ever met. He is a phenomenal person. He's a lecturer, he's a professor. There's so much to like about this guy. So that's September the 12th off the top of my head. So make sure you watch that, because it will be amazing as well. So what else can I say to you? Make sure you join the feeds, Speak Up Monday. Be part of it. Come and watch in person here. We have anything from 10 people to, we had 100 people last week. It's crazy. But it's always a number for that show, right? So feel free to come and join us. It's free. No RSVP. Do not need to be a member of Tropical Nomad. You can just come. And while we're talking about Tropical Nomad, great segue. Just want to thank Itchy. And we've got Guzman. We've got Sister Ayu, who technical partner, my best friend here. Every week, just we're getting better and better and better. So this couldn't be done to this level without someone like that. And there's so much to like. So Itchy, we're going to get on the show on another time. He's another phenomenal individual. So thanks to studio audience for coming. Most respect and love to all of you. And to Sister Cheryl. Woo! Amen. Thank you so much for just being
You're welcome.
the incredible person that I always knew you to be. And you know, it was also Marina when you did an interview on her, and I was watching. I was like, that's Cheryl. She's got something. I've got to get on the show. That was like a year ago or something.
Yeah, that was a year ago.
God, it took me a year to ask you. What was I scared? Maybe. But thank you so much for being you. I know. I don't think, did I just say scared? Damn it, on camera. I didn't mean it. But yeah, Cheryl, thank you so much, really, from the bottom of my heart. You've been amazing. You are a wonderful person with so much good to offer the world, and you're doing exactly what you were supposed to do. You know, as from the womb coming out, dancing and singing, being a journalist. So look, over to you to help us close the show with any thoughts, any closing thoughts that you might want to leave people with.
Okay, I think it's whatever that you wanted to be or do or have, you can always be or do or have it. You just first have to picture it in your minds first, and then enjoy or trust the process. I know it's very cliche, but it is how it is. That's how it's supposed to be done. I didn't understand it before until I'm actually doing it, and I was like, oh, it is that simple. It is that simple.
Thank you. Round of applause, everybody. Cheryl Marella. Thank you. Nodding your head. Sister Cheryl, killing it.
I feel like I'm in church.
I know.